Hi, welcome to The Life, where viewers can say, I live fully empowered. My name is Oanh Heiser. I'll be your host today, and I'll be interviewing Dr. T.J. Dickson on connecting to your best life through visioning. Let's get started. So Dr. T.J. Dickson, tell us, what is it that you do?
I am an author, a life coach, a facilitator, and speaker for a wellness company I started in 2012 called Taraji LLC. And I chose the name Taraji because in Swahili, the word Taraji means hope. And the mission of the company is hope, health, and healing to empower our clients to live their best lives. And when I work with my clients, I connect to their pain and struggles. I assist them to heal and transform, and I empower them to lead their best lives. And I do this by taking a holistic approach to wellness. Because oftentimes when people hear the word wellness, they think of just the body. Right. You know, eat right, exercise. And although that is incredibly important, it really is, that's just one aspect of wellness. Wellness also includes the mind, the spirit, your relationships and finances, because that completes the human experience. And when any one of those areas are off, it definitely affects the other areas. If you improve one of those areas, it also has a domino effect and help you feel better overall.
So tell us, why did you choose this line of work?
I chose this line of work because 13 years ago, I hit my rock bottom. Life as I had wanted it to be and I had planned it to be, I knew it was going to change and change in a way I did not want it to change. And for me at that particular time, I lived a lot in fear. And so I feared change, absolutely hated change. And so for a moment, I didn't even want to live anymore. But I got through that moment, and I did live through that moment, and I decided, you know what, I've got to take my life into my hands and really take an active role. So I began to seek my wellness. And the first area was my mind, obviously. I needed to change my mind on how I even looked at change. And so every aspect of my life, my mind, my body, my spirit, my relationships and finances, they were all basically torn down and rebuilt. And so this transformational time that I went through was really quite painful. But there were a number of healing and wellness practitioners that I was blessed to have come into my life that have actually assisted me in the various areas of change. And so as I began to heal, not only was I surviving, I started thriving. And I stopped living so much in fear and I started living with faith. I started, these just started getting better and better. And I went from despair to finally reaching a time of joy. And when that happened for me, what I did was I looked at what is it that is my purpose and passion, because I felt like I hadn't gotten through all of that just to continue to just live life without abundance. So I asked myself the question, if I could do one thing and do it without fail, what would that be? And it was to help other people live their best lives, because all of us go through trying times. And all of us also go through times when we just really want to get to that next level. I wanted to be one of the people, like the ones that assisted me, to help other people get to that next level.
Right. It's kind of like we've gone through it now, come back and help others who's going through that process and felt they were all alone, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what is visioning? How would you define that?
When I look at visioning, there's actually two parts to it. There's the first part of it that's really part of the larger part is visualization. That is using our imagination and looking at, seeing ourselves, what we want to do, be, and have. So, for instance, we could visualize purchasing a home that looks out at the ocean. We can visualize that. We can use our imaginations to see that. And so that's one part of visioning. The other part of visioning is when you really ask God, ask the Creator, what is it what plans do you have for me? What do you want for me and see for me? And that goes beyond our imagination, because when we invite God in, I mean, His ideas, His plans are usually way beyond anything that our imaginations can see, because our view is very limited. So you marry both of those together, and then you have the full scale visioning, because actually a lot of our visualization comes from our Creator. That's the intelligence in us, our imagination. But when you look at that full picture, it's like, wow.
Yeah. Well, he dwells inside of us, right?
Absolutely.
So you're right, part of the formula. Okay, so why did you start visioning?
Well, I started visioning both times. I'm gonna start when I was 4. When I was a 4-year-old, I looked around me and there was just a certain way that I wanted to live life. There were certain things that I saw, I didn't like them. So then I said, okay, this is what I want for my life. So at 4 years old, I visualized me going to college to become an accountant, getting married, and having children. And so I could see out 18 years, basically, because by the age of 22, I had done those things. So that was my first little taste into visioning. But when I started going through that huge transformational period, when I hit my rock bottom, when I started to embrace my wellness and started to seek my wellness, it was still painful though. And so one day I just was like, everything right now is really falling apart. Let me think about something else. Where do I want to see my life? Where do I want to be? And I started thinking about what it is that I wanted to do with my future. And it was so interesting. So I had this journal, and I just wrote down kind of like a little bucket list, except it wasn't things like, oh, I'm gonna go bungee jumping or skydiving. Those things are fun. I just started saying, what do I wanna see? And I wrote those things down. And for that time that I was writing, it didn't matter what was going on around me, because I was, in a way, kind of living in my future, and it felt so good. So when I did that visualization, it was really about just feeling better for a little bit, just having something to look forward to, just having a little bit of a reprieve during this transformational time that I was going through.
Wow, okay, and what revelation would you have said through visioning?
Oh my word, I mean, so many different revelations. One thing I could say is this show. I create a vision board every year, and I visualize different things. And one thing that was on my creation board, or on my vision board rather, was that I would be working with my wellness career. Very general statement. I didn't realize though until you came and talked to me about this idea, and then I went and prayed and meditated on it, that, well, God had some plans on those details, that I would be doing a talk show called The Life. I mean, I just had no idea. So that was one of the great revelations, is you're going to do this talk show as a way to help other people know even that you're out here and what you're doing. So that was one revelation. The fact that I'm working full time now in my wellness career, another great revelation that I had envisioning. For a number of years, I've actually wanted to do this. And I could see myself doing it. I still have some visions of different things in the wellness career, in speaking, that have not yet come to pass, but I know they're coming. So I've had so many revelations that I would be working full time in wellness, that this show, and I get even small revelations all the time through visioning, how something is going to unfold, how my brand is. Even working with you on my branding were all things that were revealed to me simply by visioning.
That's amazing. So how would you feel that's impacted your life? Obviously, it's great revelation, so that's got to be moved out in very impactful ways.
Well, for me, it has helped me really embrace peace. Because one thing, no matter what's going on today, no matter what is going wrong, what doesn't feel good, I know that there's a greater vision, and I know that there's something else to come. Yeah. So it helps me be really at peace with whatever is going on. It also brings me a lot of joy, because one of the times when I do a lot of very intense visioning is in the beginning of the year. And I am a person that loves nature, well, part of nature. I love being out in nature when it's nice and warm, or when it's nice and cool, but cold gets me. I do not like the cold. I'm sorry, I don't. I love looking at the snow from inside the house, but then it irritates me because I want to be outside, but I don't want to be in the snow. So I do this visualization usually in the winter. That's very, very deep visualization and visioning. And what it does for me, even during that time, is to say, wow, I'm looking so forward to this new year. I'm looking so forward because of what all is going to unfold. I know I have part of the vision from my visualization, but man, I can't wait to see what else God, shows me as the year unfolds. And so it gives me a great sense of joy. And then there's also excitement, because I get pretty excited, like, I wonder what else is going to happen. I wonder what else is going to happen. And I can look at my vision board to see where I'm going, but I always know there's always more, because when you look at the full version of visioning, God is constantly giving me those next steps and those other things. And so it gives me a lot of excitement, and it helps me to love life too. At one point, as I said earlier, I didn't love life. I actually went through that period when I didn't want to live anymore, and life it wasn't something I loved. But I love life now, because there's always that next thing that's going to happen. There's always something else to visualize. There's always something else that God has in store for you that you'll receive as a revelation through visioning. So.
Okay. So how did visioning lead to your career in wellness?
Well, with my career in wellness, when I started visioning my life, period, that's when it was revealed to me what my passion and purpose was. At the time, I was actually working as an accountant, and I had a very successful career in accounting. I was doing, really well in it, and although it was a vision that I had when I was 4, the reason why I wanted to become an accountant when I was 4 is because I was told by my mother and my sister that was a good career to have. And I like numbers and adding machines and cash registers. So, they were like, oh, okay, you want to become an accountant. Okay, fine, I want to become an accountant. So it wasn't like there was a passion to me. It wasn't passionate for me. It was just something I was good at. I knew how to do it. So when I started visualizing my life and really using visioning, that's when it was revealed to me that I had a passion and a purpose really to work with others. And even as an accountant, I would have people come to me, whether it be my coworkers, my students, business owners, clients, that would like to share with me what was going on in their lives, and just needed that ear. And when I would see those people actually make these transformations in their life, these changes in their lives, that's when I was the most happy at work. That's when I was the most excited. That's not even part of accounting. What you do with accounting, you create your balance sheets and your income statements. But it was, for me, what helped me to really feel good about being at work, because I was helping other people. So when I started visioning, it was helping me to really see that this was the direction I needed to move in, to really embrace those moments and really move full-time into wellness so I could work with others as my passion, purpose, and life work.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, so then what type of tips would you give to beginners in visioning? Because some people might say, I don't know how to go about that,
Well, the first thing I would say is if a person really wants to start seeing what their lives could look like, you just gotta want it. Because a lot of times we hear a bunch of information and it really, really sounds good. It's like, oh yeah, I should do that. But you're telling yourself you should do that. It's not something you really want to do. So first of all, ask yourself, do you really want it? Because sometimes people are just fine with just how things are. They really aren't wanting to see changes in their lives or go to the next level. They just don't, and that's okay. So first of all, ask yourself, do you really want it? And if you really want it, then the next thing that you're going to want to do is just start to dream. Just start to, don't put limitations on it. Don't start asking, well, how am I going to do that? Well, what if this happens? Don't do that part. Just say, what would you like to see? We don't need the details yet as far as how you're going to get there. What do you want to see? What do you and ask yourself that. And once you ask yourself that question, also What do you want to see? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? And it doesn't have to necessarily have a time frame. It doesn't have to be in the next year. Although if that's helpful to you, say, where do you want to be next year? That's okay.
Yeah.
If it's something more general, like when I wrote my list, it was just something I would like to see before I died, actually, was my list. It was like a bucket list. What do I want to see? So it could be whatever time frame that you would like. And then also the third tip I would give is just to be open. Open up to whatever way that unfolds. Open up to the possibilities of more than what you can see. Again, inviting the Creator, inviting God into this conversation, because now you may have something even bigger than what you really could see with your own imagination.
Right. And I love that you shared that, don't get hung up on the details, because oftentimes we really do. And I feel like for me, sometimes it's an all or nothing, but I know that's not a good attitude to have, because it really stops you from getting there. So this is the big picture, and the details will come later, right?
Absolutely.
Especially if we're working with the Creator and he has a different idea of how to go about that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, like in your case.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, like with this show. When I said,
exactly.
hey, I want to be doing my wellness work, and I just kept it very general. I didn't realize, again, that a talk show would come out of it, or even my YouTube channel. I didn't realize I would be doing those videos. Sometimes that is part of the unfolding, is what are the details, and allowing the revelation, again, to come in those ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so can you give us some steps to the visioning process that you go through?
Absolutely. So here I have on the board 8 visioning steps. And the first step is desire. And I talked about that with the beginner. You have to want it. Number 2 is dream. Ask yourself, how do you want to be? Maybe you don't like something about how you are right now. So how do you want to be? What do you want to see? What do you want to do? What do you want to have? Once you answer those questions and really take time with them, then write down your answers. And I suggest writing them down, because it's going to come in handy later. And then, so this part is really the visualization, the dream and the write. Then praying and meditating. That is when you're doing full visioning, because you're going to pray for enlightenment, to see if there's something more the Creator wants you to know, inviting the Creator into your plans. Well, what plans do you have for me? And then meditate. That's the second part, the second half of the conversation, when you get quiet and you get the revelation. And whatever that revelation is, number 6, write that down as well. So now you have 2 pieces. You have the visualization part, and then you have the full visioning, which shows the revelation. Then number 7 is creating a vision board. I suggest creating a vision board because for some people, it's good to have something that you can look at, and something you can put pictures on there, you can put some words on there to help you to really have it in front of you. If you, for instance, visualize a car, the current car that I drive, actually that was envisioning, it was also me visualizing it as well. But there was this car that I had driven. It was a Kia Soul, and I thought it was the most fun car. But we had just rented it to go on a trip, and so I had a visualization. Well, maybe I'll get this car, but I didn't really think that I was going to get the car because I was fine with the car I had. But sure enough, it was up on my vision board. I cut a little picture of a Kia Soul out, and there it was. It was in the end of the year, in December, that I got a Kia Soul. So sometimes, it's good just to have the actual pictures and the vision board up there for you to see. And then finally, I would say hang it in a prominent, private, and I have private underlined place. And the reason why I say that is, whatever the vision is for our lives, it's going to be different, because there's something unique in you. There's something unique in me. There's something unique in everyone that God wants to bring out. And whatever that uniqueness is, whatever that vision is, it's going to look different for you, for me, for our viewers. So we might not understand that. If I'm looking at your vision board, I might look at that and go, Juan, what is up? What do you mean you're going to go, hike Mount Everest? I mean, are you crazy? What are you doing? That's actually probably on my
your vision board.
Yeah. But okay, fine. But so Juan, what are you going to do? Why are you going to do this? Yeah. So it may not make sense to someone else because it's not unique to them. So it needs to be something where you can see it. And it can remind you what direction you're going, what the vision God and you have for you. Right. But keep it private. You can share part of your vision when it starts to marry with someone else's, like us doing this show. We obviously talked about this, but everything doesn't necessarily need to be shared with another person because it is bringing out who you are uniquely. And that may not make sense to someone else. So, yeah.
What about someone who is very sharing type person and very outgoing? Would that be okay for them to not necessarily have a private? Maybe they're not a private person. Maybe they're Facebook that love to post everything, and share everything.
And that's fine too. Yeah. But then just if someone is starting to try to poke holes in your vision, just make sure that you are aware of that and you still keep your eyes on your prize and your vision. Just don't let anyone take that from you, because oftentimes, particularly parents, friends, we really want to be helpful to each other. We really want to protect one another. Yeah. And so if you share sometimes your vision, it may scare someone else, and they'll be like, "Oh no, Tamara, don't you climb Mount Everest. You might fall off and break your neck. Don't do that." Yeah. So you will. That can happen. So just make sure that if you want to share, that's okay, but just still keep your eyes on where you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a good point, because you're right. People can kind of say that's a little lofty, right? Of an idea.
Right.
And you don't want to do that. You don't want to squash your dreams. These were visions that were given to you, and part of the whole process, you think, is belief, right?
Absolutely. Faith definitely comes into play, because again, we are all unique beings. We were all created for a purpose. And when we get into visioning, that's when all of that starts unfolding. That's when God starts bringing those unique things that's just for you out. When you invite him and you release that and allow it. And it's beautiful, because whenever we are visioning, whenever we're really living our best lives, it really empowers someone else to live theirs. Because normally people who do that, they look very bold, they look very strong to other people. And it's like, how do they have the bravery to do all that stuff? Well, really, it comes with things like this, with visioning, when you keeping your eye on the prize. And I'll say one more thing about even sharing. Sometimes you do start having to share parts of your vision, because oftentimes we don't get where we're going alone.
With the others,
We have to have each other. In order for this show to happen,
I had to convince you.
Well, yes, you did. Yes. Fine. Yes, she did have to convince me. So you had to convince me. We have this awesome crew that's behind the scenes that is helping us with this. We had to share our vision with them. Without that, we could not make this possible. Exactly. So it does become a time when there's times to share parts of your vision, but you don't necessarily have to share all of it at once, and especially not with people who are not helping you get there.
Exactly, because you don't want to have your dreams squashed before you even start.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to throw something else out at you, because this is realistic, okay?
Okay.
Let's say like someone does have this awesome vision that was given, but maybe it's kind of grand, but they thought maybe it was going to happen like next year or something. How do they keep from being discouraged, through the journey, the steps or the process to get there? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you get this vision, but it hasn't happened yet.
You know what? I'm so glad that you asked that. Sometimes the vision, we want to put a time frame on it. And sometimes it's like it just has to cook a little longer. It has to you have to develop it, and it comes. What I'm doing today, being working full-time in wellness, I've had this in my mind for, oh my gosh, so many years. I've known for a while that I had another passion, purpose. I just wasn't quite sure what it was. But when I started Taraji, it was in 2012. It's now 2016. So here it is 4 years later when I finally am able to work in it full time.
Right.
So sometimes you just have to allow it to unfold in its timing. It doesn't mean that the vision isn't accurate. it just means that just be patient.
Yeah, that's so true. I think that's the harder part of visioning. It's that timing, right?
Yes.
Because you're given that, but then it's also the perfect timing for something to unfold.
Absolutely. And sometimes what you don't realize is you're actually taking steps towards that.
Exactly.
Most things are a process. It's not a presto, bango, here it is.
Right.
Some things might be that are very, very quick. And you may get little pieces of it along the way because you're going to get lots in visioning. Even when I'm doing my vision board, it's usually for a year out. But there have been some things that have carried over 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. But maybe all the other things happen. So just see how everything unfolds and just keep working that vision.
So maybe kind of notate that there are steps and that the steps are happening, because I can see someone getting discouraged if they had it on their board and it isn't happening right away, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because there were times when I even was like, when will this happen?
Exactly.
But as you had mentioned earlier, it's about belief and faith.
Absolutely.
And I definitely have a vision still in my head, even about my work now, that I know at some point it's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet, but it's coming, and I'm excited about it.
I love that you can remain excited about it. And I think the key is maybe to notate those baby steps.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And keep them, because I keep all of my vision boards. And what it does is when I get discouraged, I go back and look at everything that has already happened.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Well, that wraps it up. If you'd like more information, go to the Life Facebook page. Thank you so much for the crew and our sponsor for making this happen. Without you, we're not able to do this. So until next time, may you live a fully empowered life.